At the beginning of the film, we observe a young girl who is going on a date. Soon, the beauty goes to a bar where her meeting is to take place. The girl has a good time with the guy and allows him to walk her home. However, at this moment, an unknown man decides to go inside after the beauty. Soon, the television broadcasts the news about the found girl, who was taken away from life. The victims of the unknown criminal are becoming more and more. At the same time, in one of the bars, Eva celebrates her 30th birthday. The woman celebrates with friends. Kelly is happily married, and Anthony has been in a relationship for a long time, but wouldn't mind finding another guy on the side. Robin, on the other hand, is single but polyamorous. Eva, at the request of her friends, gives a speech where she mentions her lack of career progression, as well as breaking up with her boyfriend after an 8-year relationship. After a drink, the friends start talking about the fact that it's time for the girl to find a husband. Anthony is against it, because in Tinder still wields the same criminal. Eva is shocked, because she also watches videos on this topic. Back home, the girl listens to another podcast. When Eva is looking at a photo with her ex-boyfriend, the doorknob suddenly starts to move. The girl hides and then jumps on the criminal, who fortunately turns out to be her sister. Valerie has been married for a long time and even has children. The sister communicates with Eva and says that she is not very careful about her safety. That's why Valerie suggests that they install a smart security system in the house. Eva is sure that she doesn't need it, as her ex-boyfriend will soon come to his senses and return. However, Valerie changes her mind, because it turns out that Eva's ex-boyfriend, Jake, has found a replacement for her in 8 months. Eva comes to a state of shock from the information she has received. She asks Valerie to leave her alone, and then invites Robin to her place. Together with her friend, Eva creates a profile in Tinder to find a replacement for her ex-boyfriend, and show him that she can be happy with someone else too. Robin likes all the men so that the girl can choose from a huge number of messages. However, Eva's first experience of correspondence doesn't turn out to be very successful. Soon, the girl pays attention to Mitch's profile. Going to him on a date, Eva listens to a podcast about the criminal. It turns out that unknown man is very fond of rosé, bottles from which are found in all the houses he's been to. Eva sees the guy in the bar and learns that he bought it. Mitch immediately charms the girl and they have a nice time. Eva notices that the guy has no fingerprints. Mitch admits that this is the price of working in the kitchen and constant handling of hot objects. At the bar, the girl suddenly notices Valerie. Eve quarrels with her sister and demands that she stop following her. Afterwards, to spite Valerie, the girl goes home with Mitch. There, the couple is left alone together. After that, Eva asks the guy to leave, but Mitch is not offended at all and asks to call sometime. Left alone, the girl starts texting with Kyle. Early in the morning, Eva wakes up from the doorbell and sees a handsome guy behind her. The girl learns that in front of her is Norman, an employee installing a security system. The guy turns out to be quite talkative and tells her that he's interested in forensics. After assessing the premises, Norman asks the girl out on a date, and she gladly accepts. In the afternoon, Eve goes to work where she takes pictures for a friend. The girl tells Kelly about Mitch and also about the cute security system installer. In addition, Eva continues to text with Kyle, and already today they will have a date. Kelly asks the girl for at least 3 dates not to bring the guy to her house, so as not to make a bad impression. Finally, the evening comes. Communicating with Kyle seems interesting to the girl, but strange. In addition, Eve is alarmed that it was rosé what he ordered at the restaurant. On a date, the girl has a good time, but refuses to go to Kyle's house. Instead, Eve decides to invite Mitch to her house. Their games are interrupted by a call from Valerie, who informs her that the criminal from Tinder had scarred fingers. Eve considers it all just a coincidence and asks her sister not to follow her. In addition, the girl has to invite Valerie to a bar to spend time with her and her friends. During the meeting, Anthony insists that Norman is the best option. Kelly votes for Kyle, but Robin thinks Mitch is the best candidate. After news of a new crime, Eva agrees to delete Tinder. She is going to hang out with 3 guys to pick the best one. as well as prove to her sister that none of them are criminals. In the evening, Eva goes on a date with Mitch. The girl checks his shoes and realizes that the guy's foot size turned out to be the same as the criminal's. This shocks Eve. The girl decides to run away from the date, which upsets Mitch. The guy also says that he will be very upset if it turns out that Eva only wants to sleep with him. The girl decides not to see Mitch anymore, considering him dangerous. Eve goes on a date with Kyle, which the guy decides to arrange in the park. However, during the meeting, the guy aggressively argues with a man who plays guitar. Eva discreetly checks Kyle's shoes and realizes that they are also the same size as the criminal's. In the evening, the girl runs away from her pursuer. However, it turns out that a man passing by found an earphone dropped by her. In the morning, Eva listens to a podcast and realizes that the criminal must have access to the houses. He must also not arouse suspicion. Eva starts to get suspicious of Norman. When the guy arrives, Eva suggests he take off his shoes before installing the security system, but the guy refuses. The girl proposes that Norman go with her to a comedy group performance. There, however, the guy scares Robin by playing the role of a criminal from Tinder. Later, Eve asks why Norman became interested in forensics. The guy doesn't answer and walks away, saying his sister texted him. Eve turns round and notices Brad in the bar. Eve talks to the guy and asks why he came without Kelly. Brad admits that they actually had a quarrel and have been separated for a couple of months. Eve sympathizes with the man, after which he leaves. Soon, Robin joins the girl. Her friend considers Norman's behavior strange and suggests following him. The girls follow the car and observe the guy. Norman enters someone else's house, and as if committing a crime there. Eva decides to check everything and wants to get inside when the guy leaves. Luckily, it turns out that Norman was actually helping his sister, who can't walk. Eva feels terrible because she has been following a man. Soon Norman calls back and offers to continue the date. The girl wants to be alone with him when she notices a woman's shoe. Eva doesn't believe that the shoe belongs to her sister and accidentally says that her sister uses a wheelchair. Norman finds this strange and chases the girl away. Eve drops her purse in the street and is helped to pick it up by a woman in a gold dress. In the morning, she listens to a podcast and learns that the woman she saw at Norman's house was killed by a criminal from Tinder. A frightened Eve calls her sister and comes to see her. It turns out that Valerie has already compiled a dossier on Norman. The guy's sister has become wheelchair-bound due to the fact that their house was attacked by burglars when they were children. Eva goes to the police, where she confronts her ex-boyfriend. Jake jokes at first, but then becomes serious. The boyfriend tells her about the strangeness of the criminal. He left his victims wearing the same shoe time after time. Eve remembers the shoe found in Norman's bedroom and says it could be evidence. Also, Jake mentions that they have some of the criminal's DNA, but it hasn't been found through the database. Eve decides to help with this and goes to Norman's house. First, the girl pretends to be looking for a lost earring and then passionately kisses the guy while pulling out his hair. Under a fictitious pretext, Eve escapes and takes the evidence to Jake. The guy says that the girl can't go home as it was Norman who set up the security system. Eve calls her friends and sister, but for some reason they are too busy to answer. Near the house, the girl runs into Norman, who scares her very much. When the guy does leave, Eva decides to call her sister, but she doesn't pick up the phone again. The girl decides to call Kyle, and he agrees to let her in. The guy is quite polite and even offers Eve a bath to relax after the stress. The girl tries to put all suspicions aside and goes to the bathroom without taking her phone with her. Meanwhile, Valerie calls Kelly in a panic. It turns out that her sister has found out that Kyle is not at all who he says he is, and Eve must be rescued immediately. The girl listens to these messages after coming out of the bathroom. In a panic, Eva tries to escape from Kyle, who behaves very aggressively. The guy is shouting that good guys are always deprived when Kelly suddenly attacks him. The friend helps Eva to go to the car and says she'll clean up the house and then come back, and they'll call the police. This is how they can avoid unnecessary suspicion and make what happened look like self-defense. As Kelly leaves, the girl hears the notifications and finds the hidden phone. Eve finds many more phones from which the girl has been texting women. When the girl enters the house, Kelly puts on Kyle's shoes. The friend acts very strange and lies that the second phone belongs to her husband. Eve tells her that she knows about their breakup, however, her friend interrupts her. Kelly says that she found a lot of heels, and that means they really did catch the criminal. However, Eve suddenly realizes that this information about the heels was only known to the police. Kelly confesses that she once followed her husband and found out about his cheating. The girl wore his shoes and got revenge on the mistress, and then started running a Tinder account on behalf of the married man. Kelly was destroying mistresses and collecting shoes to drop them off to Brad. However, the man recently offered to reconcile, and so the girlfriend decided to blame it on Kyle, who turned out to be quite a suitable candidate. When Eva refuses to keep quiet, Kelly attacks her, but is defeated by those very shoes. Afterwards, the police arrive on the place. Jake calms the girl down and tells her that Valerie called the police. Eve refuses to get back together with her ex-boyfriend when he suggests it. Instead, the girl decides to apologize to Norman and his sister. The boyfriend forgives Eva and offers to try again. This is the end of the film. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like, write in the comments what you think about this film, and see you in new videos.